Assalamualaikum. My name is Widi Mutakin, founder of Expo Studio and Expo Academy. In this video, I want to answer one of the most frequently asked questions by SketchUp users who are trying Blender for the first time. Where in Blender can I create construction guides or a tool similar to the tape measure tool? To provide you with context, in SketchUp, you can use the tape measure tool to create guides. For example, say we want a guide 20 centimeters from the left border, and then we want another 20 centimeters guide from the right border, and we want a 50 centimeters guide from the top. Now that we have these guides, we can easily create lines or rectangles by snapping to these guides, and then perform push-pull and so on. This is good and all. But the thing about the tape measure tool is that a lot of SketchUp users rely on this tool too much. They create guides for everything they want to draw, so much so that eventually the scene will have so many guides that they don't even remember which guide is for which. In such a case, you need to delete the guides. You can press E to activate the eraser tool, and then click on a single guide to erase it, or perform a click drag to erase multiple guides at once. In a nutshell, that is the tape measure tool in SketchUp. Back to our previous question. So, how can we create guides in Blender similar to the tape measure tool in SketchUp? For this, I have three answers. First, you don't need to create any guides in Blender to model anything precisely. But if you really badly need guides, well, the second and the third answers are what you need. Let's deep dive into each of these answers. First, you don't actually need guides to model precisely in Blender. Let's use the same example as what we did in SketchUp. Let's say we want to extrude a small rectangular shape on the surface. For this to work, you need to make sure that the auto merge option is turned on. To create a line 20 centimeters from the border, simply select the left edge, press Shift D to duplicate X 20, then enter. To create a line 20 centimeters from the right border, we can select the edge, press Shift D, X minus 20, then enter. To create a line 50 centimeters from the top border, we can select the top edge, Shift D, Z, minus 50, then enter. After that, you can perform a manifold extrude on the center face. As you can see, you don't need to create any guide to model something like this in Blender. Now, if you really need to have guides, there are at least two solutions for you. First, we can simulate ordinary edges to work as guides. I call this method scale and separate. It is just a name that I made up so I can remember the technique easily. For this technique to work, you want to turn off the auto merge feature. This way, edges and vertices do not merge or intersect automatically. We can turn it back on later when we need it. Say, we want to create a guide 20 centimeters from the left border. We can select the left border edge, then Shift D to duplicate X 20, then enter. After that, press S to perform scaling, then press 2 to make it twice the size, then enter to confirm. Yes, you can also type in 3 or 4 or any number you like. The bigger the number, the longer the guide is. After that, press P and then choose Selection. This command separates the selected edge into a new independent object. So again, this edge is now a new object, or it is not part of this object anymore. Let's create similar guides for the rest of the sides. Select the edge at the right border, Shift D, X minus 20, then enter. And then press S, 2, and then enter. Press P, choose Selection. Now we can select the top edge, Shift D, Z, minus 50, then enter. Press S, 2, enter. Press P, Selection. Alright. To be able to snap to these edges, you want to make sure the edge snap option is turned on. If you want to turn on both vertex and edge options, you need to hold the Shift key while clicking them. Let's say we want to create a rectangle just like before. We can start by selecting this vertex, and for the upcoming steps, we need to turn the auto merge back on. Okay, we can press E to extrude X and then snap it here to the guide. Then E again, Z, and snap it to the top guide. E again, X, and snap it here to the right guide. Then E again, Z, snap it here. After we have the edges, we can now select the face in center and then perform a manifold extrude. So here is the result. You can delete all the guide objects if you don't need them anymore. The third solution, if you badly need guides in Blender, is to use paid add-ons. If you go to superhivemarket.com, you can find at least 2 add-ons that can do this. The first one is called Construction Lines, and the second one is called Help Lines and Work Planes. I do not own the Help Lines and Work Planes add-on, so I cannot show you how it works. But I do own the Construction Lines add-on. Long story short, this add-on mimics how SketchUp 3D modeling works while inside Blender. Honestly, although I own this add-on, I don't use it in my daily work. This is because I am already accustomed to how Blender works natively. But let me show you how this add-on works really quickly. After purchasing and installing this add-on, you will get a new tool icon on left panel. By clicking on it, you can access all these tools that show up at the bottom of the 3D viewport. You can click on this X icon if you ever need to exit. Again, these tools mimic how SketchUp works. This one is equivalent to the tape measure tool. This one is like the line tool. This is like the rectangle tool, circle, and so on. And this one is equivalent to the push-pull tool in SketchUp. Let's say that we want to create something like we created before. First, we can activate the guide tool. Click from here, drag to the right, then type 20, then enter. Then, from this border, type 20, then enter. And then from the top, type 50, then enter. Now that we have the guides, we can use the draw line or the draw rectangle tool. As you can see, it snaps to the guides automatically. Finally, we can use the extrude tool to push the new face backward. We can make a hole with this tool, but I'll just type 10, then enter. So, that is how you can use the Construction Lines add-on in Blender. If you are interested in using Blender for architecture and or interior design projects, then you should join my online course series. This course series will guide you step by step from basic 3D modeling, authoring PBR materials, texturing, UV editing, lighting, rendering, compositing, and so on. Currently, I have the course series until floor plan creation, and I am still working on a course on designing a complete house from start to finish. Hopefully, all of the courses are done by the time you watch the video. Besides on Payhip, you can also find these courses on Udemy and on Skillshare. That is, if you prefer these learning platforms. I hope you found this video helpful. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. Wassalamualaikum.